My name's Joe, and this morning I'm here for the dawn course, and as you can hear there's plenty of them singing already. But the plan is to go down the towpath to the lake, and every so often I'll stop and try and pick out individual songs. For instance, there's a robin right behind us here at the moment now. But of course he'll stop once I say that. Yeah, no, there he goes again. And robin's one of the few birds that will sing the whole year round. So if you're hearing birds around in December, it's likely to be a robin. But there's blackbirds, I can hear these 4 species just around here at the moment now. And you can hear the crows. Those are rooks, because you can divide crows into different groups. There's about 5 or 6 different crows around here. So if we're ready, we'll maybe head off. Just one family of dippers here, and the 3 young. And later on I can show you a video I took of a couple of them sitting here. Now you're not going to actually see those at the moment. We might get them on the way back when there's a bit more light. But they're usually in fast flowing rivers, and it's only because the Ball Alley River comes into the canal that they're getting dippers here. And they have a nest underneath the bridge. So they'll have another brood, but they're one of the first singers in the year. They nest very early. And if you're down here and you stand listening, you can actually hear them singing, and it's a beautiful song. It's also a good place to see the kingfisher. I saw one here yesterday morning, and it was just all you get to usually flying through and then back again. And there's also a good chance of seeing grey wagtails here. There's a pair of grey wagtails nested over here last year. But we'll move on a bit further and concentrate. You hear that phrase, and then say a different phrase 3 or 4 times and then repeat it again. And behind you is one of our smallest birds, the wren, and it is very loud call for its song. And once you learn the wren, you realise there's actually far more wrens about than you actually think, because they're so small you don't notice them. Yeah, that's the wren again there now. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Song thrush. That's the song thrush. Yeah, he picks a phrase, then repeats it 3 or 4 times, and then picks a different phrase, repeats it 3 or 4 times. And to the right is a blackbird. That's a lovely, sweet, melodious song. But you don't hear so much repetition in it now. There's also a blackcap over there now, but we might get another one. It's a lovely, beautiful song as well, lovely warble. Some people call it the Irish nightingale because we don't have any nightingales. But you'll notice once we leave this area here of the trees, and we get into the open space, you'll not hear so much because it's a lot quieter. The habitat's just not there. But we're fortunate to have these stretches here. Then we're going a bit further towards the lake. There's plenty of trees there, so you'll notice a lot more bird song there as well. But the song thrushes are singing quite well this morning now. That raucous one in the background, that's hooded crow, as opposed to the rooks that we heard earlier on. Yeah, that nice wee sweet warble, that's a willow warbler. That's one of our visitors from Africa. There's 3 or 4 different species you get along here that have migrated in recently. And that's the most common summer visitor we have, the willow warbler. And it's very similar in appearance to another bird called the chiffchaff. But once you hear the 2 of them singing, their sounds are totally different. The willow warbler has a lovely sweet song, whereas the chiff chaff just keeps going chiff chaff, chaff, chiff chaff, or really boring. So that's how you would separate those. That's it, the willow warbler there. You can hear a wood pigeon in the distance, and it sort of coos 5 times, whereas if it's a collared dove, it goes 3 times. They're very similar. Some people say they get mistaken for cuckoos, but when you hear a cuckoo, it's totally distinctive. Unfortunately, we'll not hear any here this morning now. There's a wood pigeon behind us again. You can actually see a few blackbirds coming out now.
Would they be the first Joe to get up? And they always say the blackbird's the first bird to rise and sing.
Yeah, that's funny. This morning at home I could hear the first bird was a blackbird. It's usually a blackbird or a robin would start off. That's the hooded crow up in the top of that rock, it's called. Some people call them greybacks. And the rain just went, you could hear him singing down there now. So we'll try a bit further on.
Joe.
A buzzard. Buzzard flying over.
Does a buzzard not make a noise?
Oh, it does. It mews like a cat, but it doesn't always. You see the crows coming out now to mob it. And they never get any peace. But you notice when that's flying, it holds its wings sort of in a V shape. That's a good way of identification for buzzards.
Are the crows just protecting their nest?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and all birds, the prey get mobbed by other birds. It's just they see them as a threat, like, you know.
Yeah. But if there was one crow, would it mob? No, it has to be a pair or more.
Oh no, sometimes you'd even get one. Like,
Attacking a buzzard.
Yeah. And you'd think the buzzard would just turn around and take them, but it doesn't. You know. And swallows are great indicators of birds of prey. If you listen to the swallows when they're flying about, and if they see a sparrowhawk, you hear this noise, and next thing they're mobbing as well. But see, a lot of birds of prey are using surprise to attack different birds. You know. Right, so we'll move a bit further on, isn't it? No, there was a blackcap singing, but it stopped now again.
Maybe Fiona's red's putting it off.
There's the blackcap singing now, just directly in front of us. Yeah, that's a blackcap, yeah. Lovely sweet warbler. And the male, he has a black cap, and the female is a brown cap. And they're mainly summer visitors who just arrived recently, but in recent years some black caps have appeared at bird tables, but they discovered those are actually coming in from Germany, and they're just staying here for the winter. But the majority of the black caps you get here at this time of the year are summer visitors. They like to sing from deep cover, so even when you hear them, they're hard enough to see. And behind us again is another wren. And you can hear a wood pigeon in the distance as well. there was a gold crest up there called, that's our smallest bird, even smaller than the wren. It's very high pitched.
Yeah.
So we'll sit across. It's behind the trunk, is it? No.
All right.
You see the space, like, it's gone up.
Yeah, that's its call now. Yeah, it's way up at the top there, you can just about see it. That bird weighs about the same weight as a 5-pence piece. Yeah, it's just slightly smaller than a wren.
There's two of them there, is there?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that's the wren going there and the gold crest singing there. That's why it's always good to get the dawn court this time of the year, because if you wait another few weeks with all the leaves on the trees, it's very difficult to see the birds then. Also has a
Oh, right. Yeah.
Hurry up, hurry up.
Oh, yeah. Yes, there's another one here. Cannot see the tree.
yeah, you can hear a blackbird going there as well. That's the song thrush now. That repetition again. That's the blackbird making that call now. That's the song thrush. Yeah.
That's what songs people heard it. Yes. 5, 10, 3.
No, well, they all vary too, but you say that they'd sing a phrase and repeat it 4 or 5 times, but you'd get individual thrushes and maybe a different phrase as well. So I don't know how many it would be all together. Yeah. And they do have different dialects, because I've heard wrens in different parts of the country. It sounds slightly different. And if you put that up on the computer in the sonogram, you can actually see slight variations in it. So like a Warren Point wren is a different one than Poyntzpass wren. They have a broader accent. Yeah, we have a nicer accent.
The ones in South Armagh.
And there was something up here making like a wee clicking noise, like a wee.
Well, there was a packing, that was the alarm call for blackcap. So that's not stopped now, but I could hear it. Yeah. I can't actually see that song first, but you must be at the back of the head.
That's the iPhone.
There it is there.
Yeah, song first, yeah. You have the song thrush, the missile thrush, and the blackbird, and they're all related. And then what two winter thrushes, the fieldfare and the redwing, and then another rare summer visitor, ring ousel, which goes up the mountain.
And so just the males, or males and females.
It's mostly the males that do the singing, the robin, the male and the female sing.
Yeah, it's
That'll
right.
be a song thrush, yeah. but you can't really tell them apart by
It's
looking at
Friday,
them. But it's the males that do the singing because that's territorial. They're trying to track their mate, and they also tell another male so it's just a nice spot. Keep out over there.
So female robin would make a noise, but that would be.
Yeah, well, they do sing as well. Yeah, you do get the odd exception in both. Yeah. Everybody will know now what the song thrush is now, but that was giving a great performance.
What was it called again, Joe?
A Dunnock.
Dunnock.
Dunnock. It used to be called a hedge sparrow, but then they changed its name because it's not actually a sparrow. It's got a fine bill. It's an insect eater, not a seed eater.
Right.
But they're just it's Dunnock because it's a dull-coloured bird.
Why's it flapping, Joe?
That's a courtship display. Must be another one about somewhere. Go into that.
It never worked.
Yeah, there must be another one around that we can't see.
Early bird and all that. Is that a Dunnock?
That's a Dunnock, yeah. Well, he's not going to sing again, unfortunately. Willow warbler. The yellow was willow warbler.
Well, you're saying about courtship, they only put their own sort.
Yeah. Well, ducks are a bit different now. They can interbreed. Yeah.
We never get out of
You're friggin' right.
Everyone's on the nice side.
That's the willow warbler. That's a visitor from Africa, one of our summer visitors. And those are the most abundant species. There's more willow warblers than any other ones that are raised here.
And would they particularly like willows and water? Is that
Well, they do like
chosen
willows,
habitat?
all right. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that'd be the main sort of habitat you'd find them in. But you do get them in other habitats, all right.
Okay.
Like I say, they're widespread, and once
Alright.
you learn their song, you'll realise they're everywhere, sort of thing.
okay?
And they normally nest down on the ground, sort of in briars and deep
Okay.
cover.
So
But,
leave the garden untidy for them.
oh, definitely, yeah. But the confusing species for those is chiff-chaff, and it looks almost identical. Now there is ways to separate them by the length of their wings and things like that. But like I say, the song is totally different. That's a lovely,
Right.
sweet song, whereas the chiff-chaff is a boring song.
Okay.
Hopefully we might come across it. You know, it's very repetitive. It's normally a habit of singing taller up from higher up in the trees, whereas the willow warbler normally sings a bit lower down. But that one again is being a bit of an exception because he's very high up. So
Alright.
there's always exceptions to the
Yeah,
rule,
yeah.
sort of thing, you know.
Over there, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one that local people would call a greyback crow.
Were they the back
back to that nest, Joe, every year, or somebody else claim it, or
No, they normally build a different nest, and the other birds could claim that. Like, if that was near the edge of a woodland, you maybe possibly get an owl using that. Yeah, they use old nests, long year down.
Does a swallow or does for any wee birds use the swallow's nest?
Yes, I've had wrens that used the old swallow's nest, and they would build their nest in it.
Yes. Okay. Because I had seen that, and then I thought that's what they were doing.
Yeah. No, you're right. Sometimes they give us an old swallow's nest and that's been abandoned. They take it over.
Oh, just a wren or
Well,
what do you call those?
the sparrows have used house martin's nest. House martins usually nest on the outside of a house. If you've got a good gable and a good overhang on it, that's likely to be a house martin.
Right.
The swallows nest in side shells.
And then they're house martins.
The house martin.
The swallows are
The sparrows will take
sparrows are getting in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a bit of competition between them.
Yes.
Joe, did you ever see the crows that nest below the bridge on, you know, the canal bridge that is under our lane?
Oh yeah, yes, those would be jackdaws.
Jackdaws?
Yes, they use all the old railway bridges because they like to nest in holes.
Yeah.
So that's sort of similar to a hole in a tree, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and they come back to that same nest every year?
Well, that area, yes, and
Yeah.
they nest in that
Yeah.
bridge every year,
Yeah.
different jackdaws, yeah. That's the one that used to nest in your chimney.
Aye.
When people had open fires and you'd go down and light the fire, say in a sitting room or something like that, the next
Yeah.
thing the smoke would be coming down.
Yeah.
The chimney was blocked, that was the
Right,
jackdaw.
right.
But now that people have sent their heat and they
Yeah.
haven't got as many
Yeah.
places to go to nest now.
We've got a lovely sunrise happening here.
You can see a few swans out there. Those are mute swans or resident swans. As opposed to the whipper swans which come here for the winter. Most of those have gone now. And they'd have come from Iceland, the whipper swans.
There are some swans there in North Belfast that were dying a few months ago. Did that happen down here as well?
Oh, it did, yeah. There was at least 6 swans died here.
Yeah.
And it was probably bird flu, but they didn't come out to take them.
Right.
But I mean, the fact that at least 6 swans died, it would indicate that that's likely the cause of it.
Did you count them?
Oh, it did, yeah.
And you had to report that then?
I did, but they said they don't come out because
Right.
there were so
Right.
many birds dying. You know.
So what happened to?
Well, they just decomposed. They were
Right.
down at the side making.
Right.
There's 3 or 4 here and three over there.
do you hear all the things?
There would be, and they would nest here as well. Like, there's other ones that would come here in the winter time, like tufted ducks and golden eye, time potchard.
How many mallards would you say are in Acton Lake?
It's hard to say, you see, because a lot of those are released up in Drumbonica. They could maybe have 1,000,
Right.
you know, for shooting.
Yeah, oh yes.
And then
yes.
they're coming down here, so it's always
Right.
hard to tell. Mallard is one that, you know, they're not really true wild
Yeah.
ones that much now.
Yeah. Would they get? Is there shooting down here as well?
Oh, well, there does be over there, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, mostly for pheasants now.
Yes.
It's so hard to shoot pheasant.
Not. Well, yeah, so they're hard to get out of your way, some of the
Oh,
pheasants.
it was an accident.
Now, which bird is this? Over to the right.
A wee one.
Not the wood pigeon, no. This is a repetition one.
Oh,
Chip chop.
No,
one of the tits.
no, song thrush.
That's the one.
That's a wren there as well now. And you can hear a wood pigeon as well. Yeah, a wood pigeon there, too,
We all knew that.
Yeah.
But you hear that that bird is singing a phrase and repeating it
Yes, of
4 or
course.
5 times. That's the song thrush. Yeah. Oh no, I have a quiz written out and all for later on. Oh no. No, I have a checklist for you so you can tick off the birds yourself. But I don't think I have enough of them, but we can sort something out. I came down and done this last Tuesday and there wasn't one song for us.
Is that right?
Yeah, and there's at least 2 or 3 this morning. They would start singing fairly early in the year as well, and then once they pair off and they're nesting, they don't sing as much. You know, but then they can have a couple of broods, so they'll start singing again.
We're actually quite lucky this morning then.
Oh, we are, yeah. Now, sometimes if you come to the corner and scan away ahead, you can get a kingfisher sitting on one of the branches over the canal, but unfortunately I don't see one at the minute now.
What was that wee one just went across?
See if we can get on to it. I think that's a willow warbler. There's also a blackcap in there singing. Wood pigeon again as well.
Yeah. Finished then.
Yeah. Now, like I say, there will be some singing, but not to the same extent. Like, yeah. No, you need to be out the first couple of hours in the dawn course to do it properly.
Is there a dusk?
Oh, there is a dusk course. Yeah, but it wouldn't be as vigorous. In the middle of the day, birds are. You think that you need to go into sleep, like you don't hear them as much, or you don't see them as much. So it's definitely well worth getting up early in the morning to come out to hear them and see them.
Yeah.
And then there's less traffic about, so there's less background noise as well.
Yeah.
We'll maybe head back slowly.
It's all about arriving and going.
Yeah, but you know it's got a wee fine bill, and the old books used to have that down as a hedge sparrow, but sparrows have a triangular bill for seed eating, but he eats insects.
Right.
And the Dunnock's the bird that has more partners than enough.
Okay. Okay, gets about.
Yeah, he gets about that. Yeah.